Hey everyone, welcome to the Texas Music Spotlight. We're here with Chase Gassaway, all the way from Austin, Texas. His latest album, Certain Circles, is really cool, and you need to check it out. Chase, welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, everybody?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Yeah.
It's always fun to get artists in different genres on here and listen to all the different types of music. Like I said, this is recording for a podcast. People will jump in and out occasionally. Don't worry about that. The audio is still going to be used for the podcast.
All right.
So what have you been doing, man?
Today, I've been cooking a pot roast.
What's that?
Today, I've been cooking a pot roast
Oh, nice.
and arranging some tunes, but
Tell me about some of the your starting music. How you got started, man?
Man, it's hard to tell. Really, music's always been a part of my upbringing. Raised in the church, and so we had children's choir since you could breathe. You were in that, and then elementary school, I had played cello for the orchestra. Switched to trombone in middle school. In middle school, I also started a rock band a little bit. Started learning piano and guitar, and kind of just it's always been a thing in my life, and it's kind of hard to tell where it started.
You remember the first at what age you started playing?
Cello would probably, I guess, be the youngest instrument. That was fifth grade.
Fifth grade. All right. All right. Now, one thing I was thinking about earlier is like when you were growing up, how much of your parents' music has influenced to what you listen to? Because I know I was thinking back, I was hearing a song on the radio. I was like, man, I used to hear that in my mom's car, going to the football game and stuff like that. Just it brings back all those memories as a kid.
Yeah, I mean that's really the main time you'd hear it was in the car, because when you're in the car with mom, you don't really get a say in the radio station. So she listened to a lot of kind of '90s era country music, and that was a big root of what I was into. My rebellion against that was I was a lot into like punk and grunge music and harder rock music, and but they blended over pretty well. Like I'm a country boy, Texas boy, so it wasn't hard to get into some Garth Brooks or George Strait when it was on the radio.
Yeah, I hear. And does any of that rub off in your writing?
It has to somewhere. I mean, anything that is in your reach that much has to be.
Right.
And I mean, country music in general is. I'll play a lot of my sets if I need to, because I'm in Austin, Texas, and people hire you for a gig. They want to hear a little bit of country in there, but I don't really sing with any type of drawl. So even if I perform a country song, it's not going to sound like a country song.
Right. It's going to sound like
that. I'm twang it up.
You've already developed your own style. And I watched, some of the videos and I listened to some of the music. And the first thing that my son played it for me, he does the social media. He's the one you've been talking to, my son, Jules. And he's actually at a show right now, so he can be here. So one of the things he when he played the song for me, the first thing that came to my mind was Paul Simon. I have no idea.
That's an interesting part of it too. When I was in my dad's car around my dad, kind of the rock music that I was intentionally kind of rebelling with was just he did not like it at all, and so our common ground was Paul Simon actually.
Nice.
So the first concerts we went to together in Grand Prairie, like seeing him on the big stage, was actually probably a big formative part of my musical experience, was seeing Paul Simon play live in a big setting. But what I loved about him was it was folk music, but it was really great lyrics. But then the music itself was beyond kind of just the standard diatonic chord notations. Like he would actually blend into a lot of modal stuff and really tricky stuff, but make it seem really easy and still folk inspired.
Yeah, and he was being played on pop radio, and it was that mixture of all those elements being put on the pop radio, and as I don't know why, I don't know if it's your phrasing, but that's the first thing that came to mind was Paul Simon, and that's
definitely.
It's weird that you bring that up, because that's what I heard in like I said, I don't know if it's the phrasing, the writing, or the chords, but that was my first impression.
Probably the sheer talent level, I would assume. It's just that.
Tell me about the album. The album was released 2014, Certain Circles.
Yeah, right at the beginning of it. I've been trying to record out for about 2 years now, so it's still in the radio world and in a lot of publishing world, still considered new. I've got some other stuff that's in the works, but that's like the last published record that I've been producing and pushing.
How was that that process of writing that, recording it, all that good stuff?
I mean, so I produced it myself. I recorded it at Ramble Creek Studios. That's in Austin, Texas, with Britton Beisenhurst. And what I love about working with Britton is you could fully let him engineer because he's got a great technical mind, but also a musical mind. So I could communicate with him how I want it to sound, and he could actually make those elements happen with the mic choice and everything. But the production level all came from me just doing a lot of pre-production in my home studio here. This is my home studio that I'm in right now. Not a whole lot, but enough for a songwriter to really lay out parts. And but yeah, going into the studio is actually really fast. Studios are expensive, and songwriters don't have a lot of money. And so I knew I wanted to do a 10-song record, and I had some Kickstarter funding to help me in there. But I try to be as tight with my studio hours as I could. So we had pretty much everything orchestrated and rehearsed, and just went in there and just knocked out a bunch of takes. Really, most of the first takes we took were the ones we ended up using for the record. Just got that little sparkle to it, a little magic, you know.
Is this your first full-length CD?
First full-length, yeah. I've dabbled since around 2005 was my first. I did an EP just to see if I could do one, you know, as a college kid, and was just trying to see if I could, you know, make the process work. And so I did the studio orchestration with the cello parts and all the orchestra parts and everything, and went in there and played it myself. And if I did that record again now, I'd do it a lot differently, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's always that way, man. You always look back at the old recordings like, man, I wish I would have done this, one done that, and it's like, well, you can't. It's down on tape, and you can't.
That's one of my favorite things really about music. I think it's an interesting time that we're moving back into with digital music. Is the term of record? You know, it's a moment. It's a recording of that moment, how you played, how immature you were, you know, and how you actually, you know, were in that moment, and you have a record of that moment, you know. So you can take the same song and replay it again 10 years later, and that record is brand new, you know.
The records there, the live performance may be different, totally different by that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I try to stay pretty close, but like in Austin, I tour around with a lot of different types of players. So depending on what the ensemble looks like for the gig, like the record's got lots of strings and brass, and so I usually have something like that, but I can make do with a clarinet here, or upright bass, electric bass, kind of just whoever convenient for the set.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get you to play, man, and we'll talk more about the band and playing and performing.
All right.
What are you gonna do first?
This song's called "Feeling Good."
Nice.
There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. Everybody cries and everybody should. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. You got that monkey on your back, try to throw you off the track. You don't even have to notice or react. Just look him in the eyes and tell him that there ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. Everybody cries and everybody should. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with having faith. There ain't nothing wrong with having faith. 'Cause even if you don't have to change. There ain't nothing wrong with having faith. If you'd rather see the sunny side fall on the undignified, then don't look so confused. And when it starts to rain, you got no one to blame. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. Everybody cries and everybody should. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good. There ain't nothing wrong with feeling good.
Very nice, very nice. Chase Gassaway, feeling good. That was awesome, man.
Oh, yeah.
So the instruments there, I want to get into. I understand you went to college. Where did you go to college?
Hardin Simmons University in Abilene.
Okay. And you studied music composition theory, all that good stuff?
Right, yeah. So kind of the meat and potatoes of music.
Right. Now, do you find? I gotta ask this because I know I've asked this with other musicians who've studied through college and stuff like that. How much of that affects your writing? I mean, do you consciously think of it has to do this and it has to do this, or is it more?
I wouldn't use the words "has to." I would say the advantage of a musical education and composition is your desire of what you want the music to do. You can actually make happen versus the limitations of knowing what you want it to sound like but not being able to. So it's not something to me that binds as much as it opens up the doors to a lot more sonic sound.
Right. Yeah, I used to tell that to my students when I was teaching that. Look, I'm just going to give you the tools. What you decide to do with the tools and build is totally up to you. And I just find it. I forgot who it was that I talked to, and he's like, you know what? He goes, my education is in there, but I don't consciously think about it. He says, when I write, I know my options. I know what I can and can't do. But even at that, the rules, in order to break them, you got to know what they are first. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. To me, I mean, one of my favorite examples is I've got a friend named Bob Barney. He's a songwriter, and he would write these songs with these beautiful progressions that were, extra tertian and past the diatonic and great use of harmonic vocabulary, but he had absolutely no idea what chords he was playing. And so he'd joke around. He's like, man, I really need to learn some theory. I need you to teach me. And I would tell him, like, I'm not going to teach you any theory because that would mess you up.
Right.
So it just depends on where you're at. I mean, for me, during the week, I'm writing a lot of orchestra scores for other people, for schools, for churches. And so I can go in and out of that brain part of my creativity pretty easy. And actually, as I'm thinking about musical ideas, I can already start expressing them on a page. And that's just kind of how I'm able to lock down stuff. Like a lot of guys need to have a recording device if they have an idea.
Right.
If I'm like in an airport or something, I can actually scribble down the notation of what I'm hearing without having to, because back in the day, like people didn't have a phone they could suddenly just record an idea on. They had an idea that.
Yeah, now you got iPads, iPhones, all this gadget stuff, and you can jot down an idea either recording or notation wise. There's so many great notation devices on notation apps on the devices now, so it makes it a lot easier to get your ideas out there.
Yep.
So tell me about your band. You have a full-time band, or you just kind of pick and pull what you feel like for that night?
It's a pick and pull kind of option. Most of the time, I mean, 90% of my touring is solo. Just because it's more financially viable to do that, especially when I'm going across the state and I'm on the road about 2 weeks out of every month. And if you tour with a large band, you just have a lot of overhead. And so I try to just make my awesome performances or my regional performances be where I pull out the full band, which I really enjoy more. A lot of my guys I've played with for years and years, and so it's very organic. And what's fun about the arrangements and how I play is that if I'm playing with the right group of guys, it might be completely different than how I played it last time. We're going to lean into each other. I try to write with a song structure style that has enough meat on the bone that you can change the song around and change the feel, it can actually still work. But yeah, usually it's bass drums, some sort of orchestral instrument, because that's just usually where my heart lies, violin, trumpet, something like that.
I hear. I hear. So touring, how far do you go out?
Let's see here.
Regional or you go national?
I do. I mean, the furthest I've been out this year is probably just over to Nashville. Last year I went all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. I'm trying to get to New York there this year. Kind of just depends on where the route lays out. I mean, my normal summer routes is where I tour a lot because my wife's a teacher, so she can tour with me. And we kind of make it a vacation / tour. But we'll go up to the mountains, all the way up to Colorado. And it's,
you do all the booking? You do all the booking or you have a booking agency?
What was that?
You do all the booking or you have a booking agency?
Both. If it's regional, a lot of times it's me. But even outside of Austin, just like the Houston area and anything beyond, I use at least of all booking out of Brooklyn.
Nice. That's always fun to get. And speaking of married life, do you have kids?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm finally warming up to the idea of them. But yeah.
I was just gonna say, well, how is it traveling? And obviously, you said you travel with your wife, which is always really, really cool. So how is the family married life of a musician for at least for you?
I mean, marriage to me is really easy. Like I've always had a great relationship with my wife, and that's never a point of tension in my life, where I think it is for a lot of musicians. She's always let me be me, and so I just actually enjoy being married. And what's been great about the past 5 years of my life, just kind of seeing a lot of songwriters that are all over the world touring that have families and have good relationships with their kids and are able to function in both of those parameters. So I've seen it done successfully and healthily. And so I don't think there's something that has to be in battle for them to both work.
Is she your number one fan?
Hopefully. I don't think so.
Does she have your CD in her car? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that actually probably no. My mom does though. My mom.
Okay.
Record. I think if Cassie spun a record all the time, I'd get annoyed by it.
No, I have to ask this because I've asked a lot of musicians about this. What's the most embarrassing thing? We got a shout out to the number one fan's girlfriends. That's my son's girlfriend in the chat room, and of course, my wife is an amazing wife too. She puts up with my music and is really, really cool about the whole thing. So I have to ask this: what's your most embarrassing moment on stage?
As a person, I'm pretty much kind of the embracing of the crazy and the chaotic, and usually I'm making other people on stage feel intentionally uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I've fallen down on stage and even off the stage.
I would say if it's going to be something that's of that nature, I was playing one time with a Motown group that I'd started, and I was doing a James Brown number and was getting really active, and I was going back and forth all over the stage, and as I was going to hop in and doing some high knee steps, the heel on my shoe broke off. And so when I landed, I just had no balance and actually fell completely into the keyboard players. My buddy Dan Redner was playing keys. We were up on a pretty high stage, about a 4.5 foot stage. And he totally, like a pro, kind of just absorbed the blow, went down, and then just pushed me and the keyboard all the way back up. And I got
part of the show. So with that, what's been the most rewarding experience on stage? What's been the coolest gig you ever did?
The coolest gig, as a philosophy, I always try to think
that
cool.
The
coolest gig is always the next one.
Right.
And that's because if I'm playing a gig, it's currently that gig. I try to be in the moment as much as possible. And I've had some good, large crowds, and sometimes people will use that as a base. And the favorite crowds I've played for are the ones that are just really listening and engaging. Kerrville Folk Festival is probably a good memory just because the people there are are just completely silent and staring at you like while you're performing, which is nerve-wracking but also endearing because they really care about songcraft. So a lot of the folk community of Texas is like that. But to me, the ones that are memorable is just little one-off gigs where I had a connection with someone. You know, someone who really got the lyric or got, you know, into the music enough to where we're having a connection.
Right.
Those are, to me, the ones I try to, those are the ones that keep me going, you know?
Oh, yeah. Makes it worth it, right?
Yeah.
I see all the instruments. You play all those instruments back there.
Most of them. So, yeah, this is, this over here is my main wall, I guess. At one point, I had 11 ukuleles. My wife had to kind of hold an intervention, and now I'm down to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm down to 5 now, so I'm getting better.
How many guitars?
What's that?
How many guitars do I see there? I see is that a Telly back there?
Guitars. I got.
I'm a Telly fan. I love Tellys.
Yeah, my Telly's up at my church right now. I don't have it. I got a. Well, this is a Telly.
Yeah, that's the one I saw. My eye spotted that one. See.
Yeah, this is a Tux J. Nice. This is by a company called Sublime in Florida. And then this is a really weird thing. It's a Les Paul knockoff. You see all these effects that are built into it.
Is that a real Les Paul with all that stuff in there?
No, this is the company is K.
Oh, okay.
Effector, like EFF effector. But yeah, it's got all these built-in weird effects on it, and they sold them on the market in the 70s. So it's just kind of a studio trick guitar to have sometimes.
How does that thing sound?
Like your amp's broken. This is my real Les Paul. It's one of my standards there.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah. The other ones I don't have with me, though, are Moniker is a local company that I like. They hand build guitars. Yeah. That's my hollow body.
And for those of you listening on the podcast, you can watch the video. I'll upload the video. You can see all his guitars. Really, really cool stuff. What's your main axe? What's the one you can't do without? What's the axe that if you lose all your guitars, this one you cannot lose?
Let me show it to you, actually. A couple of years ago, my grandpa passed away. And one of the things that he left me, and actually one of the things that I write about on the record, the song Where I'm Coming From.
Yeah, I heard that one. I like that one.
Yeah, I wrote that whenever my grandpa passed away. He left me this 43 Gibson LG. So I sat down with it. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah, this is the one that if there's a fire in the house, we run back in to get. When I got this guitar from the funeral, like I came home with it. He actually never had a case for it, since he bought it brand new in the 40s, and I never had a case. It sat on the porch, and when I finally got it, I was back in Austin, and I sat down and I played a lick on it, and was like.
Since you have it out, you want to do a song?
Sure, yeah. So from that lick, I mean, sometimes songs take, years and years and years to write.
Sometimes they take a life of their own and just come out, right?
Yeah, this one was one of those that kind of came out in one moment, and that's how it was.
Nice.
So this is called Where I'm Coming From. I've got Grandpa beat up guitar. It's got stories that I will never know. Some will make you smile, some are better left untold. It's been worn, fixed and broken. It's got bruises, but everyone was earned. Sometimes getting hurt is just the only way to learn. But if I tune it up just right and play it loud and bright, you might just see the light. You might understand where I am coming from. I'm not perfect, hardly worth it. I've got stories that you will never know. Some of them are mine, but all the better ones I stole. But if you play your cards just right and open up your eyes, you might just see the light. You might understand where I am coming from. I've been trying to keep on fighting. It's so easy to let them drag you down. Will I keep it up when there's no one left around? Where there's nowhere left to hide, I am who I am and I'm doing alright. If you just take the time, you might understand where I am coming from. Well, I am my father's son, and I know that he's proud of the things I have done. If you knew the mess I was, you might understand where I am coming from. You might understand where I am coming from. You might understand where I am coming from.
Awesome, man. I really dig that song, man.
Thank you. It's usually a crap.
I dig it because I know where you come from. You got that from your grandfather, right? The guitar.
Yeah.
And those two guitars that I have back here on the back, one belonged to my godfather, and the other one belonged to my uncle. The one that belonged to my uncle was actually shipped back from Vietnam in a box.
Oh wow!
So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, my grandmother gave it to me some years ago, and it hadn't been opened since it was shipped back. And I got the guitar about 10 years ago, and hadn't been opened since that day she gave it to me. And when my godfather passed away, my godmother gave me his guitar. The one where my finger's at right there. That's his right there. And
that's awesome.
The one thing about that guitar, my godfather, is I had it in the case for a long time, and I took it out to show one of my students, and I noticed there was something in it, something rattling around in there. I was like, "What the hell's going on there?" Well, I finally looked inside of there, and there's 2 rattlesnake tails in there.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what they're for.
Use them as a shaker?
That was one of my thoughts, is maybe as a shaker, or they believe that it enhanced the sound, but it freaked the hell out of me when I saw it. I was like, "Oh, there's 2 rattlesnake tails in there." All right.
Wow.
All right. So, man, that I like I said, that song kind of pushed me into this. And when I heard it, I thought about my 2 guitars that were passed down to me as well. So thank you for that. Awesome, man. Now we're going to get to the fun part of this podcast called the Texas Two Step.
Yeah.
Not two songs, two questions that have nothing to do with music. And usually those are written out by my son, Jules the Human, which I'm going to shout out to him because he's not here and he's out performing somewhere. Where is he, Sam? He's going to type it in. Where is my son at tonight? Incarnate Word. Okay. Well, he's performing out there. So two questions that have nothing to do with music. Number one, what's the one food you can't do without, Chase?
The one food I can't do without.
Your guilty pleasure.
So my wife would attest to this. It would be Biggs brand ranch sunflower seeds. I mean, half my life is driving if I'm on tour.
I was going to say, you have the big bag right next to you when you drive, I know.
Yeah, pretty much if I'm driving, I have to have a bag. And I'll actually, if I pull over and I'm out and they don't have my brand, it's like, I don't smoke cigarettes, but if they don't have my brand of sunflower seeds, I'm noticeably kind of upset.
But they help you stay awake, right? Eating sunflower seeds helps you stay awake, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the activity of doing something about it just helps me focus. I don't know. But then, the shells are the part that my wife hates, and so I do my best to spit into the proper containers and then get them out of the car.
Oh my God, Sam! Sam just asked a question, but that was actually my second question, Sam. I have it on here, and I'll show it to you. If you don't believe me, I don't know if you can see that, but the second question there is, who would you want to play you in your TV biopic? And she asked the same.
Yeah.
She asked the same thing. If there was a movie about your life, what would it be about, and what actor would you like to play your character?
So I mean, so you have to enhance it a little bit for the biopic, I would go with Mark Wahlberg.
There you go.
Because that's my wife's secret man crush. So I'm always aspiring to his upper bicep form. But actually, honestly, it's funny, as an actor though, he does a lot of goofy stuff, but he does a lot of very real stuff at the same time. It's kind of like when you see like Jim Carrey tackle a really beautiful drama piece when you're used to seeing him be so crazy.
Right. He's a versatile actor.
Yeah. That's kind of how my life is. Like, people that know me know that I'm extremely goofy, very quirky, and always purposely kind of like pushing the conversation in the directions that are sometimes uncomfortable, but at least interesting. And but at the same time, I'll be very introspective and deep and real with people. So it's got someone's got that kind of character.
Right. And Sam said she would be totally down to watch Mark Wahlberg play a uke.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty hot. I bet he could, actually. Right. I don't think there's anything that man can't do.
Right. So that was a Texas two-step, just two random questions that got nothing to do with music. And actually, that last part, that was about music. But what do you got coming up this year, Chase?
This year, I got a couple of festivals this month that I'm excited about. Songwriter Serenade is in Moravia, Texas. I was a semifinalist last year, and I'm semifinalist again this year. And that's a great songwriters festival. And then later on in May, I'm playing Wildflower Festival. It's in Richardson. That's a pretty large festival. Probably one of my bigger ones I've played. Headliners are Finger 11 and who else is on there? Unwritten Law. Some bigger rock bands. I'm on the songwriter stage though, so I'm a little bit more personal, intimate venue. But those are some big festivals, and then I've got a new record that I'm trying to figure out the launch campaign for it to get out by the end of the year.
How was the Kickstarter? I mean, did you have good success with that?
Well, so I've done Kickstarter on one album. That was my first record. Yeah, it was great. It's a great platform just to rally people around your record. I think more than the financial help that Kickstarter obviously makes because you raise the funds. It's you get people excited, and you really see who your real fans are. Your patrons that are actually gonna support you financially, and then you can then share with them specifically a moment that help make it happen together.
Did you have the little giveaways for different amounts?
Yeah, I gave away bundles of CDs. I had some previous CDs and a Christmas record and some smaller stuff, and T-shirts. I did some written lyrics, handwritten lyrics. I actually had some of the original lyrics from when I wrote them in my journal that I framed. I did some custom Polaroids from the studio.
Tim,
a couple of house concerts. Actually, house concerts are my favorite seller. If I could sell more of those,
are you doing those? I mean, I've heard about them. I know a guy who does house concerts and puts them on. How is that? Man?
Honestly, it's some of my favorite shows I've had, because if your goal in a concert is to connect with people,
right?
The facility of a house is really the best place to do it. So what I tell people is, if they have a power outlet, then I can show up. I got a full PA, and I can put on a show in their living room, or their garage, or their backyard, or their church, or just wherever they've got some space. And if everybody brings some food, some drinks, then it truly is hanging out and playing music.
Right.
I can be a lot more personal, talk about the songs, talk about the stories behind them, and host a little bit more. I'm essentially hosting a party is what I'm doing. I just happen to have a guitar in my hand.
So we put on a house concert, you'll show up, huh?
Yeah, come on. Let's do it.
We got Tim and Chaka calling in. Tim, you're gonna call in, Tim, or you can call Tim. You can actually call in and ask questions if you want. He keeps pressing the button, because that would be an idea to have a house concert and have some of the people that we've had on the podcast come in and just jam for us and record it and put it all on the interwebs. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, essentially for artists too, they're almost, especially for songwriters, almost a more viable means of playing a show. Because if you have everybody, 10, 15 people even, if they bring $10 a piece as a donation and then I'll buy a record, then that's a great show.
Yeah, that's an idea. I was talking. Now my son's back in the room. I was talking to him about putting an event on in the summer with some of the alumni of the podcast, and we're still throwing the idea around and stuff like that. But I don't know. You brought up house shows, and I think that'd be a cool idea as well.
I mean, originally, if you look at socially the way music really happened, I mean, you have the Baroque period. A lot of times there was full symphonic works, obviously, where you go see at a hall. Music was mainly just done in the home. It was parlor music. Right. You'd have a musician come to your house to play your harpsichord and then eventually your pianoforte, and that's what music was. It was people hanging around in their house playing music. It wasn't a big concert venue like you would expect.
Right. Well, Chase, man, I want to thank you so much. I'm going to give you the option. Do you want to do another song? I mean, we got some people in here now.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I'll leave that up to you.
I can do one. Yeah, let's do Let me get this third guitar here.
I know you've already done two, and you've done one with the uke, one with your grandfather's guitar. Now you're going to bring the third guitar out. What song are you going to do for us, Chase?
This is a song called The Ship. Here we go. You never signed the dotted line, but you played the game most every night. It's not a crime, but you know it isn't right. They know your face and how you sound. They even let you come around. It's not your fault, but maybe you're the one to blame. When the ship goes down, who will you save? And who will you drown? Will the lifeboat hold all of your silver and all of your gold. Well, underneath the stained veneer, things are finally coming clear, and they could be true, or they could be what you use to cope. When the ship goes down, who will you save, and who will you drown? Will the lifeboat hold all of your silver and all of your gold? It's not an easy call. Our backs against the wall. 1,000 people are screaming, something's gotta change, change, change. Well, if something's gotta change, change, change. When the ship goes down, who will you save, and who will you drown? Will the lifeboat hold all of your silver and all of your gold?
Awesome. That was nice, man. Chase Gassaway.
Thank you.
Very cool, man. Chase, thank you so much for doing the podcast. My name is Julian. This has been the Texas. Well, let me tell you before I finish all the outro crap. You can find Chase Gassaway at chasegassaway.com. You can find him all over Austin. Check out his tour dates. Buy his stuff, his latest album, Certain Circles, available on iTunes and all that good stuff.
All that's, yeah, pretty much anywhere you can find a digital store.
Just go to Gassaway.com. You'll find everything you need to know. Go see this guy. He's got a great sound. Check him out on the online, on the interwebs, on YouTube, everywhere. Thank you so much, Chase, for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a fun time.
Awesome, brother. You can stick around. You can chit chat, but I'll just do the outro. This is Julian. And for my partner, Jules the Human, this has been the Texas Music Spotlight. Thank you and good night.